Thank you very much for joining me on the Voice of Job Seekers. This is Mark, your host. And if you want to know more about me, the podcast, you can go to thevoiceofjobseekers.com. And of course, you can always download from iTunes, which many of you do, or Spotify or iHeartRadio. However, I love when people go to the site and leave me a comment, which you can do on the right-hand side that says a send voicemail. It's a button that activates your laptop or your phone, actually. Well, you can leave me a voice comment if you don't want to leave a comment at all. Of course, you can also join me on LinkedIn, where I am a lot of the time. And that's where a lot of people feel comfortable engaging and having conversations as well. So, love for you to join me. This episode is a part 2 of the Modern Job Search Trends for 2020. This is part 2. Last week was part 1, and I had a little glitch, and I wanted to put an introduction there, but gladly I'm to do an introduction here as well. My guests today, and let me introduce them because I don't introduce them in the recording, which you'll be able to listen to in a moment. Sarah Johnston is the founder of Briefcase Coach, a company helping job seekers with their resume writing, LinkedIn strategy, job search strategy, interview preparation. She's also a LinkedIn top voice from this past year for 2019. So congratulations to her. Niato Binsi Nchil is the founder of AvenirCareers.com before going full-time as a business owner. He was IB Exec Senior Content Manager and Career Advisor, and some of you may remember back in the day, that's how some of you found me out, was connecting through there. Hannah Morgan, she's been on the show about 6 times. Not going to spend too much, but to also congratulate her being top voice for Jobs and Career 2019, along with Sarah and 8 others. As you know, she writes the popular column for career column for U.S. News and World Report. I would like to be sure that you. Well, it doesn't even make any sense. You can go ahead and still download my ebook, 320 Modern Job Search Tips for 2020, by going to thevoiceofjobseekers.com to the top or find the tab. The tab is a little bit better as far as being able to, it'll say, get the free 2020 ebook. So do so, you'll get 320 plus, I think it's around 360 something job search tips that I provide in that ebook. So feel free to get it. It's free, it's yours. You'll be leaving your name and just your email address. You can feel free to opt out the newsletter, though the newsletter, a lot of people find it very useful. And thousands have signed up over the years. For the sequel. Last year it was 219, the year before 118. So we keep getting more each year, and probably I'll publish 521 modern job search tips or something of that name. I haven't quite decided yet, but nevertheless, enjoy this episode. And enjoy a lot of the advice that's being given by the people on the pattern panel. Thank you very much for joining me, and you all have a great week. And look forward to seeing you next episode. And I think it's a problem that's been. It's interesting. You put so much content out there, you see so much content in not doing that, but people don't are always looking for something that's easy, and it's just easy to blindly apply and to send people, and again, you hope for the halo effect. You hope that somebody sees your name and they get this revelation that you're the one. and it doesn't work that way, because you know what, there's a ton of people who are doing the same as you are, and that doesn't help you stand out at all. Any more thoughts on that one?
Just jumping off that last point about, a lot of people who are doing what you do, and just looping back in the storytelling point, I think whether it's 2019, 2020 or going forward, it's about being very clear about who you are and what your unique value is. That's never going to go out of style. I really like to help my clients establish, what their truths are, for lack of a better word. So what's true about your value offer? What is that you do differently or better or uniquely than other people in your very same function? You could have two sales clients are one of my favorites to work with, because they are always dead set on using their numbers. And yes, the numbers are really, really important.
Hmm.
However, if you're competing at a certain level of job, you and other people have relatively similar numbers. You're all overachieving your targets. You're all, beating your quota and so on and so forth. And so the difference is, how did you go about it versus how the other person went about it? Did you have a new strategy, a new tactic? Are you really good at developing your sales team? You're awesome trainer, and you elevated their level, that elevated everyone's level. So you have to find out what is it that was unique about your approach that you can bring and offer to a new employer that's going to stand you apart from someone who may have very, very similar performance numbers. And so that story, the context around how you overachieved, the antagonist being the situation, as you said, Mark.
Hmm.
Um, that's a great way, whether on a resume, on a LinkedIn, or in person, an interview, to deliver, your differentiating factors to your competition and stand out, and to really, going forward, know your value offer, know differentiating factors, and know how to articulate it in your marketing materials and in person.
Great job. Thank you. Hannah, how about you? What is the best tactical strategy you've advised or
Yeah,
seen?
I love the idea. Niato and Sarah have talked about the target list, and I think that is really the driving factor for everything that they're going to be doing, from the networking to the applying for jobs, and the information gathering, and the gaining intelligence, so that you're going to be able to present what it is the marketplace is looking for. It just drives so much. If you have to have targets.
Mhm.
And I've been saying this for probably the whole time I've been doing this, but it just really is so important, because it opens the doors. If you can network your way into a job, that is
Hmm.
one of the best ways to stand above and beyond anybody else.
Well, Hannah, you've been doing this for a while, and I'm sure that you've seen people get jobs created for them that weren't posted to begin with.
Right.
Hmm.
Like I often see with my clients where they are high performers, they're well liked, they've got great reputations, and maybe they lose their job and it feels hopeless. They meet with their network, they meet with their target companies, and jobs just kind of happen out of thin air that maybe would not have happened if they didn't leverage their networks.
And I think, so Niato, you might be able to relate to this too. When
Mhm.
you're driving your job search because you've got a list of target companies and you're not just relying on the posted jobs, it puts you mentally in a much better position than feeling like you're at the whim of bad jobs. There are no jobs posted and nobody's getting back to me. This process of developing and driving your job search is really empowering. Have you found?
Yes, certainly. I think that one of the biggest challenges job seekers face from an emotional standpoint in jobs are just feeling overwhelmed. If your first action is to log onto a job board and type in, job title X, you're going to have maybe hundreds of hits depending on what it is that you do. And so that's just a lot mentally to take in. By, managing the pool of targets, you are empowering yourself to be able to have greater focus, better prioritize your time, and you're not chasing 80 targets because you send your resume 80 places.
Hmm.
In addition, with the networking piece, to Sarah and Hannah's point, I like to tell my clients, you can empower your network. If you send an email to your network saying, hey guys, I'm looking at these 10 particular companies, do you know anyone? That's way more actionable for your own network versus, hey network, I'm looking for a job. And then they say, well, okay, what do I do with that? So you can be much more directive and help people help you, if you have that target focused list. And emotionally, again, that's the key piece. You have greater peace of mind because you've chosen your targets. They're not choosing you.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead,
And I'm
Hannah.
going to say a little thing that I recommend people use email over LinkedIn email or a LinkedIn messaging,
Hmm.
because I just think that LinkedIn messaging is messy. And people that are working, that are not looking for jobs, are not really living on LinkedIn. So that message is not going to get seen, but we know that everybody's checking email. So if you're given the choice or chance to email somebody or send a message through LinkedIn, always use email.
It depends if that person's email server is useful. I know there sometimes there people are using like the old email services where
Right.
like Yahoo, AOL, Lord, AOL. Uh, but even some of the newer ones, they send messages to like spam folders, and they send them, or they just don't get them at all. And sometimes they hit or miss. I've had success with LinkedIn Mail, but the people who really are handling business seem to want to move over to email anyway. So because they can, it's a better environment for them, and it's much more controllable.
I have a secret hack for some of your listeners today, and I think Hannah uses this
Ooh,
already.
love
But there's
hacks.
this wonderful website called Hunter, HUNTER.io.
Hmm.
And it's great because you can look up people's business email addresses on hunter.io, and it'll verify it for you and give you a score of, oh, this is 85% accurate, or this is verified. There's also another one called mailscoop.com, but these are
Hmm.
so great. And I'm with Hannah. I think email is the way to go.
Yeah, like I said, most people want you to move over to email and not depend on LinkedIn. There might be some secret out there that LinkedIn isn't all that private messaging anyway here in the future. Who knows? But
Mhm.
anybody else before I share mine? Mine is I sigh when I say this, but I do want to talk about personal branding for just for a hot second, only because I have it's a overstated, um, but it's not particularly overemphasized as far as its usage. But I think many times there are things about personal branding where there's one aspect that's emphasized by personal branding experts. And that is, and I got this revelation in reading William Aruta's book, Digital You. And he's probably one of the few people who emphasize more about the deliverance of your personal branding, what you deliver, and not particularly the process. And I kind of use this analogy is that, if a gymnast is just focused on doing somersaults and doing a great somersault, that doesn't mean that they're going to do the whole routine correctly, or that they're going to be able to stick the landing. And a lot of times, personal branding is about being able to deliver, making a deliverable where it really does stick the landing. And to kind of bring this forward a little bit more, is that you've got to be able to talk about, to a degree, what are results in working with you. What are some things that are tangible in what am I going to get in working with you? You can look at people's headlines and they're still nebulous. They still misfire, if you will, in the sense of they don't know how to put that into words. And these days, you got to kind of know how to put it into words in order to for people to get it across, because the competing entities and competing your competition is going to find a way to communicate that. If they don't do it in words, then they're showing something that says, this is how I deliver it. And this is what people say about how I deliver it. And this is what people are saying when I'm not in the room about me delivering. Am I being clear about what I'm saying here?
Yeah, if I could jump in, this really resonated because I wrote an article about in a similar vein to this.
Mm-hmm.
I approach branding through the lens of how you help others, as literally being the pathway to figure out your personal brand.
Mm-hmm.
So how you help others and answer that question will help identify who you help. So there's certain audience that you're helping. It could be your coworkers if you have an internal customers or clients. It could be external customers or clients, whether they be other companies or consumers. So who you help is part of your brand.
Mm-hmm.
How you help, are you in operations or sales or marketing? So your job function is literally how you help others. And then finally, what results deliver, there's a result of you helping others. And so if you're consistently increasing sales or opening new markets or developing new products, that is the product of how you carry your function, how you help others. And so if you can walk through logically the different aspects of the help you offer, I find it's a really useful way to identify your brand and the unique flavor through which you help others. And so to your point about sticking the landing, the results is the proof, the evidence of how you help. And so if you can connect those dots, from the audience to the function to the result into how you help others, that's an awesome way to tell the story, of what you do and to brand yourself in a way that should stand out versus other people, again, who are in the same function, but you do it differently. And that's what we're trying to
absolutely. And be able to communicate on not only on your all platforms online, but be able to communicate that in most people can do it in 2 sentences if they're really focused. And nobody minds hearing 2-3 sentences about what you do and even a little bit of how you do it, and then what people can expect. That's really good communication. Sometimes it takes a long time for people to get there. Hannah, you're
We have
laughing.
very short attention spans, right? So if you're
Yes.
trying to have a conversation with somebody and 5 minutes later you're still explaining what you did,
Yes.
nobody cares.
Yeah, and then too, nobody. You start to not believe them. You start that kind of discredits you the longer you talk, because then it says, why are you going out of your way to explain this to me? Because either you're not confident in what you're doing, you're not sure how it's coming across to me, and do you really deliver it the way you say you are after 5 minutes?
Yeah, if that's the way you deliver it, I don't want it.
Exactly. That person's made a decision to engage and disengage all in one spiel. Sarah, any comments about?
I think personal branding, you have to ask yourself too, who are you? What are you? And, to Niatu's point, you also have to ask who your audience is and what does your audience care about. But as a career coach, there's a lot of other people delivering the same messages that I'm delivering. And same with job seekers. There's a lot of job seekers who have the same similar resumes, who have the same similar backgrounds. But what makes you different? How's your story different than other people's stories? I think about me individually and the message that I put out in content and the message that I deliver through my personal brand. And that's, I care deeply for people. I'm really practical, and I am a straight shooter, straight talker. And so that's how I write my content, how I present myself online. And I think that when you're trying to figure out your voice, ask yourself who you are and what makes you different.
Absolutely. Many times I think people are, I think we've kind of hit it there, but I just think that I like to hear about what people feel about personal branding and where they're missing. But where I think I get off is where people start to talk more about the tricks and tips than they do about the more substantive parts of what they need to, and especially if you can, especially when you can customize it to each audience that you talk to, because everybody's different, everybody has a different understanding, and there's some people who have to start from ground zero, and can you detect that? And there's some people who are already at 90. You just want to take them to 100. So you have to have the intelligence to be able to detect that. So that's good stuff there. Thank you very much. And finally, what job seekers can and can't do without in 2020 and beyond? Things that are just an absolute must. I mean, everything that we talked about are absolute must. But maybe we can talk a little bit more about what people can do without in 2020, especially if you think about the last 3, 4, 5 years where, this one thing was emphasized and now it's not that big of a deal anymore.
I'll start.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Okay. I think that, I mean, we've hit on having a targeted job search plan, but we really didn't talk about an achievement-oriented resume. And
Mm-hmm.
I am shocked when I look at a lot of MBA programs websites and see the resume samples that they're putting online.
Mm-hmm.
They're awful. Like you have to have a modern resume that focuses on what you've accomplished, your results. Your resume does not need to look like a list of all the things that you've done in your job, like a
Right.
job description. So you need to have a well-designed resume that's going to stand out in a stack.
Yeah, yeah, agreed, agreed. And we got a show for that too. By the way, I'm gonna spend some time with Ashley Watkins coming up, talk about resume trends for 2020. Uh, Nyatu, your take.
Sure. I would say people. We hit upon it in different ways, but I just want to reemphasize the necessity and power of the networking, and making sure that you have the right people in your corner to help you to get to where you're going to be. Much of what we discussed is how the ATS is, it's a black hole, and many job seekers don't need us to tell them that, but people still keep applying online.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for 2020, start building your network yesterday. The network you'll need when you're ready to make a move, you ideally should already have begun cultivating. And so, and just for people to be a bit more expansive in their thinking of who their network is. So, for example, alumni. Never forget about your alumni, not just school, but any group you've ever been a part of. Your rec softball league, your kids, Saturday music class. Those parents there. That's part of your network. If you're targeting a company, former employees of the company are still as valid, maybe sometimes even more valid than people who currently work there, because they'll be more candid in what
Mm-hmm.
they share with you about what it's like to work at that company. So I would just encourage people to not to really focus in on people in 2020, and then be as creative as they can in terms of who they reach out to and how they define, what their network is and who should be in it for 2020.
Yeah, absolutely. Strategic work networking.
Mhm.
That's the best. Hannah,
I love that answer. Like that's the
absolutely.
best. Like because you can do anything if you have a strong network, right?
Right.
Anything. You don't even need a resume if you've got a strong network. But I get you, Sarah. Right? I'm sort of like an anti-resume person. I know I do. Here's my thing, and I've been saying this for a long time, but I still don't see it, and I think it really builds well off of what we were just talking about. I want everybody to have a great signature block in their email. How hard is that? It's one of the most important parts of marketing for your personal reputation, right?
Mhm.
So does that email signature block include your first and last name, your telephone number, your email address, a link to your LinkedIn profile? Should.
Right.
Maybe if you want to include more, then sure, great. Include your tagline or whatever. But that's the easiest thing people can do. And if they started including that in every email that they send from this point forward in 2020 to all those people that they're going to be networking with, imagine what
Mm-hmm.
impact that's going to have. People like to click on stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and that's even unfortunately still 2020. We've been talking about this for years now. And it's amazing to me that people still there's
Don't
no
do it.
right, there's no email, and it's an easy way to be remembered, especially if you have a LinkedIn something to your profile, or to your website if you have one, or a Twitter account. That is very helpful. But here we are still talking about it. One of the things I think, and I think I emphasize more than anything else, is that it's time to start creating a demand for your work. The job search is way more competitive than the resume. Is way more competitive than people are looking from all different angles for talent, for you and me. And if you're not giving them, and people are not going to spend a lot of time doing it anymore. I think that's one of the behaviors I see from recruiters. They don't want to spend all that time looking, but they want the shortest route to success as possible. And that's one of the reasons why I think we have an ATS, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. And resumes are not going to go anytime soon. I'm with you, Hannah. Resume can crinkle up and die, but but the reason why one of the reasons why it's not going away, because that's the easiest way to filter lots of people applying to a job. So what you have to do is kind of put your resume in front of people, combining everything that everybody talked about in the storytelling format, network with people and draw them to your story online where you show your work and that you've created a demand for your work. And we're talking about just showing your best. We're not just talking about putting anything out there that people will get. I try my best in my LinkedIn profile, although I'm not looking for an employer. I am interested in helping more people and working with more people and having partnerships in that kind of way. But you can't do it if you don't have, if your profile is full of cliches and there are no keywords. The grammar's terrible. And we all know that gets you absolutely nowhere. So being that we're going to have to go here in about 3 minutes, starting with Sarah, then Hannah, and then Yatu, how can people get a hold of you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Sarah Johnston, or you can go to my website, www.briefcasecoach.com.
Okay. You can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, wherever, Career Sherpa, Hannah Morgan. And I have a website, careersherpa.net.
There is a careersherpa.com. Don't go to that one.
Yeah, don't go to that.
Go to .net. Go ahead.
The authentic is .net. Got it. You can find me at avenircareers.com. And I also recently launched an Instagram account also at Avenir Careers. I'll be, giving advice and little tips and things like that.
Yeah, I started following you on Instagram. So
awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Go in there now.
Sarah,
right,
you going to say something?
I was just saying, can you spell what you're saying? Because I'm having a hard time.
Oh, sure. So Avenir, A-V for Victor, E-N-I-R, careers.com.
Awesome.
Avenir.
Yeah. And everybody here blogs pretty regularly. You can find the latest and greatest of job search tips. And of course, you know me, the voice of jobseekers.com. My name is Mark. And this is going to be split into 2 parts. So it's going to be 20 minutes one day and 20 minutes the next week, the next year. So it's going to be airing twice. Once it's going to be published, the first part will be January, I want to say it's 12th. It's going to be on that Tuesday of that week. And then the next will be on the 26th, just so you all know.
All right.
In the meantime, thank you all for listening to the Voice of Job Seekers podcast. And you guys have a great week. Okay, that is it. Did I meet the deadline?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm sorry about this.
No, that's
well, enjoy your time with your mom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Excited. She's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. All moms are awesome. Even in some kind of way, we can all say moms are awesome. All right, all. So I will be in touch if I need any more information. Otherwise, your LinkedIn profiles tell me everything I really need to know. And that I've already known before getting all, except the pronunciation of your name, Yatu.
Maybe I should put it phonetically somewhere. That is a story.
I think you. Seriously, I think somehow maybe in your summary you can include a little.
A little primer, a little tutorial.
Absolutely. Or you
can
audio file. Exactly. Just a little 3-second is pronounced Yatu. Great. Thank you very much. And also, I'll be inviting you guys back for solo interviews if you're willing. So be looking for that between now and next September. There's so many people who want
Timely.
to come. Yeah, it's like so many people who want to come on the show. It's like, and you know, I usually don't. People offer me suggestions. Like I don't usually take suggestions. I just stalk people for like a year or so, just to be sure, and then they get invited on the show. So that's it. Thank you very much, all. You all have a great day.